How long you think it was gonna take before we got here? Now you gotta prove yourself all over again. Come on.
Ain't nobody coming, I've been gunning from 100 yards, trying to hit my mark, missing every time. This'll be the start of the picture perfect. Watch you.
Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to Saturday. How's everybody feeling today?
Doing good.
Me too.
Everyone's doing good. Good to hear that. Thursday, Terry had to fill in by himself, so I want to give Terry a big thank you, shout out, round of applause. That's just about how I'll put it. I get migraines, and from time to time, when I get them, most of the time, and I'm sure those who suffer from headaches know this experience. 90% of the time, you can work your way through them because you're used to them. It's sort of like a mild hangover, right? You can work your way through it. But every now and then you get one where you feel like a mafia member tried to take you out with a 22, right? You know, the reason they do that is because the bullets ricochet around inside the skull because it can only go in and not come out. That's exactly what my brain felt like. If there's rats in there eating it, it was just horrible. In any case, thankfully that's over, and I look forward to the next one, and not really. But for all my suffering, it's temporary. There are obviously other people out there with bigger issues than a headache. All right, today, a big day of racing. What is there? 3, Charles, Terry, races today. Santa Anita Derby, the Wood Memorial, and the Bluegrass Stakes, all of which are going to put horses into the Kentucky Derby.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think of all the big races, the Wood is the toughest.
In which respect? Like the best horses are in it, or the hardest to pick?
The hardest to pick.
Mm-hmm. What do you say, Terry?
Yeah, I kind of agree with him. Yeah, I think that the Santa Anita's easier, and I think he's right.
Do you think the Kentucky Derby's winners and running in any of these 3 races?
I'm going to say no.
Me too.
I'll go out on a limb and say it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Historically speaking, if there were going to be a Kentucky Derby winner, it would come out of Santa Anita, right? Most likely, because I think it's been something like 20 years since the Bluegrass Stakes winner has won. Most of the time, it comes from the Florida Derby. Right now, that's Forte, right? Is the king of Florida, and then the other one is the Santa Anita Derby. Those are the 2 most prominent races going back that have produced the Kentucky Derby winner. So maybe the Wood Memorial does it. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I think this year could be a little bit open. Normally, the Louisiana Derby doesn't do as well as those other 2. But I do think that horse that won the Louisiana Derby, because most of your contenders this year, and we'll talk about this more as the Derby comes along, are closers. And the one that won that Louisiana Derby got to the front. And more often than not, you get to the front of the Derby, you kind of have a good shot to win that one, not including Rich Strike last year. But those front runners ran just a brutal pace last year, which made it really difficult for them.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's going to be hard to beat Forte myself. So
it could be. It's the Derby, and the favorite, the favorite does struggle in the Derby, and there's no question it'll be the favorite.
Well, that's right, because you got like a herd of horses. You got 20 horses. That makes it really tough to not get into any kind of trouble or get your path.
Well, he definitely shown that he could get out of trouble and win. So
he did. In that last race, I was really impressed.
He did. I do think a 20-horse field is a little bit different than a 14-horse field or 12-horse field, because you have 7 more horses that can get in your way, which might have made it just difficult enough for him not to get past that 4-horse.
Yeah.
Especially if that 4-horse had got, what was his name? Mange.
Yeah. Was it Mange?
Madge, M-A-G-E?
Madge.
Right.
M-A-G-E. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, so if Mage had
gotten
out of the
very well too.
If it had gotten out of the gate, because that one, it didn't come out of the gate very well. So if it breaks a little bit sharper, you never know. All right, so we're going to do the pick 4 today. There wasn't really a large, the biggest pick 6 carryover was at Turf Paradise, and we decided on a day like today with the Wood Memorial, the Santa Anita Derby, and the Bluegrass Stakes, which, by the way, you can get our picks over at Guaranteed Tip Sheet, along with the wagering guide. Spent a lot of time working on that. But today you can also get the Golden Gate picks for free on this Saturday. If you head on over to the link down in the description below, hit on Golden Gate Fields, and you'll see you get those picks for free. And in the first race, Looking for Revenge is our top choice over there today. But with the Santa Anita Derby and all these large Kentucky Derby qualifiers, we thought there's no way we could do Did you guys think it would be? I mean, we could do Turf Paradise, or were you guys? Yes, indeed, we got to do one of these pick fours late at one of these stakes races.
No, I felt we needed to do the pick four late on stakes
Yeah,
races.
I agree. Because I mean, if this is where everybody's going to go at, is one of these 3 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Probably most likely Keeneland is probably the first choice of everybody, but it doesn't. I mean, it's pretty even probably overall.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get cracking then. We're going to go ahead with the 8th race to start with the pick four, the 8th race of the Carter Handicap. 300 grand, grade 1 at Aqueduct. This one's going to be 7 furlongs on the main track. 7 furlongs does tend to favor tactical speed at the New York track. 25% of the horses go wire to wire. There's a small rail bonus, a big 8 and out bonus. 2 through 7 play a little bit under par. As we like to do, gentlemen, we like to put together we do a little bit of simulating to see who will be on the lead, who might offer some good value. Gentlemen, well, go ahead. One of you, why don't you, Terry, you talk about the sim odds and the simulation for early speed. And Charles, you tell us which horses might get the best trip.
Well, as you can see there, Little Vic's got really good percent lead at the quarter pole. He should get to the quarter pole first. He got lots of speed. And then did you want me to talk about the overlay too?
Yeah. Okay. We'll let Charles handle the simulator. I mean, the C-zone.
Oh, all right. So the overlay, if you look there, that one horse is a little bit of an overlay. It's supposed to be 7-2, simulated odds at 6-1 in the morning line. And then if you come on down to that 5, it's a little teeny bit of an overlay. It's supposed to be like a little bit more than 5-2. And it's listed at 3-1 in the morning line. If you look at the C zones, the 2 has the best C zone with the 7 and then with the 4. So.
All right, Charles, why don't you handle then? Let's go ahead and take a look at the pace setup here. Oh, that's a little bit too big, I think. No? Well, we can page over. So if we look at the pace setup, you'll see that the E horses, the 1 and the 3, those are the 2 that should get to the lead. The others have a little bit more versatility. Charles, let's take a look at the recent early pace. And it looks like today's flavor is going to be the fastest one out.
Well, that's what it says, and I actually agree with that. I think the 1 is probably the one that's going to pop that gate the fastest. Probably not necessarily have the lead at the quarter pole, but I think he's going to pop that gate really good. And then I think overall, the late pace, it looks like you got, the 4 horse. He's the one that's going to be closing probably the best overall, but you got a couple others in there like the 2 and the 7 that might have a little say in that. So when it comes to closing that.
And then when you put together the early part and the late part of the race, it looks like Repo Rocks and today's flavor, the 4 and the 1, have a little bit of an advantage over everybody else. Before we do that, I got a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and talk about. We'll come back and make our picks for our pick fours. But let's talk about our hot dog pick fours. Terry, you're going to do the 18 traditional 3 by 2 by 3 by 2 with the 3, 4, 5, with the 2, 6, with the 5, 7, 11. Charles, you're going to do the same $18 ticket, just structured a little bit differently. And then me over here, I have a same sort of idea. We all put together 2 by 3 by 2 by 3, a little bit differently. And the hot dog is where we only get a $20 budget. Curious to see our prime ribs and how things played out here. Terry, it looks like you feel like race 9 is the most predictable.
Yeah, I do. I think it is basically. I think that first race, especially since Wade Barrio's out, is really wide open. And of course, the 11th is just, to me, a very wide open race.
Just straight mayhem for you on that last race.
Yeah, I could. If I could go all, I would have went all.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Charles, it looks like you think that you disagree with Terry. You think the first race is the most predictable.
I think the first 2 races are probably equal, about most predictable. But the last 2 are, to me, is the least predictable, especially that last one. I agree with Terry on that. The favorite could win that race, but what's the favorite going to be? 4-1?
I feel like
maybe.
I feel like the first race is the most predictable. And honestly, I feel like race 10 of the 2, the maiden special weight, is the most unpredictable race in the entire sequence there. Race 11's a 1A maybe in that, but I feel like there's a few horses in there that are a cut above all the rest. The thing with the maybe race 10 with the 5 and the 11, those two might be standouts in that race. I'm not completely sold because it isn't made in special weight. Nonetheless, that's the way I look at it. So as we put together our ticket, we went through race number 8. Is that where we want to start in terms of our picks? Because most of us feel like that's the easiest of the bunch. All right.
The first two races, I think we agree. All of us agree that it's the easiest two.
All right, Terry. So in race number 8, which horse do you want to start with?
Well, I'm going to start with the favorite, Repo Rocks. Won 4 races in a row, which means that horse loves to win. And he has the best dirt speed among today's starters. He has trainer Jamie Ness, who in the last 14 days, he's been in the money 4 out of 4 starts, and he won 2 of those. And he's had 3 fantastic bullet workouts in a row.
Yeah, since he's joined that barn, indeed, it looks like that horse is not lost since he's joined Jamie Ness's barn, Terry. So Mr. Ness working his magic there for sure. Charles, now everybody gets a lock or a veto. So the lock trumps a veto. So if Charles says, I don't want the 4, he can veto it. And then Terry would have to lock it in or it wouldn't be in the race. Terry, Charles, any intent on vetoing Repo Rocks?
No, because he's in my top 2 picks for sure.
Yeah, I don't have any objection to that either. All right, what is your second pick there, Charles, that you want to add?
The 3.
The 3, all right. So what is it about the 3 that you like?
Well, the 3, he does have some of that tactical speed. He won last time out, and he also cuts back in distance today, which that part I really do like. Todd gets 21% when they rest him up 46 plus days. So I think this horse is one of those scary type of horses that could sit just off the pace and do some damage at the end.
You're not concerned at all about going from optional claiming last time out to straight up to a grade 1?
Not at all. As long as White Abario is not in here, I'm fine.
All right, you're fine with that. Terry, what do you think?
Yeah, that 3 to me is a good-looking horse. I like it because it's finished in the money on all 4 of its career races, won 2 of those, and it has that high percentage winning trainer, and it has a bullet workout like Repo Rocks did on 24th of March. So, yeah.
Plus, look at the odds, too.
I agree, 12-1, but are you happy with I don't know, lately you have not been the biggest supporter of Mr. Ortiz. What's changed your...
I'm still not a big supporter, but he is doing better since I've been criticizing his writing.
He heard you.
He must have heard me, and he says I can't disappoint Charles anymore. No, I know he's an excellent rider. He is. I just think he was in a slump, which I think every jockey goes through it at one point or time. So, but he has done better. But I'm still a little leery.
So for me, the question is, do I want to go with a little bit of a price, or do I want to go with a little bit of the next in line here? For me, I want to go with that 1 horse up in here, Today's Flavor, as a little bit of a price. This one's going from allowance 82,000. It's been off since February, so not that long. Horse has had a couple of workouts since then, 3 of them, including a couple nice ones, and this one in particular on March 17th. These 2 I would consider more maintenance workouts right here for Mr. Weaver. These workouts aren't really pushing the horse, just kind of keep it sharp off this workout here. You can see the horse is steadily getting better, moving up that ladder. And since it's been the Aqueducts, won 4 in a row, and quite frankly, not any of them have been close at all. Going to be up on that lead, going to have a shot to go wire to wire. I think it's a good price. That's the one I would like to add.
Yeah, he is my 4th pick. He's ran, as you said, won 4 races in a row, and he has a nice, good high percentage winning trainer, and Manny is on him as in the rider, so I think he's a good one.
And what's your consideration there, Mr. Charles?
I agree. It was my my price horse, my 4th pick. I definitely think the horse has a shot at this. And as you well know, I think Weaver is an excellent trainer, and he does an excellent job.
So since we agree that this race is probably the most, one of the 2 more predictable races in this, and the next one as well, if we go more than here, that means we'll be limited elsewhere. Do you want to put some horses off to the side, perhaps, like the 5 horse?
Yes. Yeah, let's put the 5 in my second pick. You know, he won the last race, which was Grade 3 Tom Full at Aqueduct, so we know he can run here, and he got a really nice 108 speed rating. So
he did indeed. That's a pretty big number. There's no question about that, and that was a pretty big win. I didn't necessarily downgrade him, but just kind of looking through his history, going back to back to me was one of the reasons why it didn't happen that often. And another reason why I preferred the one over it is because this horse actually did square up over here against Repo Rocks, was not the betting favorite, and was never really close in that race. So unless something has drastically changed, and clearly this number is drastically better than that one was, but unless that horse continues to beat that form, it's already shown that it might not be able to handle Repo Rocks. So if it can't beat him, or hasn't so far, maybe we can give some shots, and that's why I put it behind the one. Charles, what was your thoughts on that?
I agree there. I mean, I had the 5 as my third choice, but like I said, after my top 2 picks, I was like pretty much whoever fills in the spot. I think.
All right, so we'll stick with what we have. Race number 9. You want to go there next? Then just go right down in order. Is that what you want to do?
Let's do it.
All right. So race number 9. Let me pull that up on here. We have it. This is an allowance race. It is for $82,000. I think this one is a mile on the turf, indeed. Purse is $82,000. They've only run 4 or 5 races at the distance, so really kind of not enough of a big enough data set to really make much of the numbers. Of those 5 races, 4 out of the 5 were won by stalkers or closers. The other one, the horse went wire to wire. So far, there's been an inside 3 bias in those 5 races. Again, really not a big enough data set to make a whole lot of information out of. If we take a look at the race in terms of the early speed for race number 9, our simulations and value and all that, Charles, last time Terry did it. This time you go ahead and take it away.
All right. Yeah. It looks like the one has a.
What happened to Charles, Terry?
I don't know. We lost
Charles. We lost your volume there, my man. So since Charles kind of disappeared, Terry, why don't you go ahead and take over? Are you back, Charles? No, Charles. Again, the most brilliant thing he's ever said, and we missed it, Terry.
Well, you can see there that the 1 and the 2 are probably going to go head and head trying to get to that quarter pole, and they're right next to each other, so they get a good break. They'll leave the others a couple lengths behind. And the only one that really looks like, to me, going to give us some trouble is that 4-horse, Candle. And then as far as the overlays go, that 3-horse is supposed to be like, I don't know, what's that?
5 to 1.
5.5. Yeah, 5 to 1. And he's listed at 8 to 1 on morning line. And then then you've got that 7-horse supposed to be close to 7 to 1 on the simulated odds, and it's listed at 20 to 1 in the morning line. And the C zones, you got the 2 that and the 4 that have really nice C zone numbers, and then the one's kind of following up on that, along with the 7 and the 5.
Just to get just a quick explanation on the C zones, we look back at the horses, the most races that they won. And if they haven't won, races that, are you with us now, Charles?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right. The next best finish, or their best finish, and then where they relate at the quarter mile marker, and if they're going to get a trip that they're comfortable with. So it's the comfort zone. The higher the score, the better, right? It's the opposite of the Masters tournament, where the lower the score is, the better. Charles, since we've gone through that with Terry, you went on the blink right there. We'll also take a look at the race setup here. It looks like most of these horses are closers. The 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6. So there's a little bit of early speed up front here. Know-it-all Audrey got knocked out of the race, but without her in that race, Charles, looks to me like Yo Cuz is going to be the one up on the lead, just like the Way to the Winner's Circle worksheet looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think that 1 is going to be the speed of the race. Got to try to catch that horse. Will he hang on is the biggest question, but he is definitely the one that's going to pop that gate, I believe.
And then when they're coming home, it looks like a pretty competitive affair.
Yeah, the 6, 7 are pretty equal there. I think it's going to be the 6 is going to close the best overall, because I think that horse also has the best early speed to keep it really close. So this horse will have a better chance at him earlier. So I think overall, yeah, that's correct.
And then as far as combining the early speed and the late speed, you can see that it's a pretty competitive race. Only the one, Yo Cuz, really falls off because Yo Cuz don't have no late speed. So it might get
Yeah.
out to the lead like you said, Charles, and then from there find its way backwards. And then we'll see if indeed that's the case. All right, Terry got the kickoffs off in race number 8, Charles. So you're on the tee box, my friend. The honor is yours for race number 9.
Well, I do believe Yokaz has the speed and have the lead, and it might be a little bit closer than the chart. I think that horse would be right there, but I think the 6 is the one that's going to be sitting in the catbird seat. So I have the 6 as my first choice here. This horse ran third last time, has that tactical speed, like I just finished saying, and we talked about right there. It has a good closing also. This horse also drops in class today, and Brown gets 26% when they're 90 plus days off. You know, that's a really hard number to get, especially with that many amount of days off usually. So you got a nice fresh horse here. So I think this horse, it would be sitting in the perfect spot overall.
Does it concern you at all, Charles? When you look at when you're looking at the Brisnets, and you see a line, those are your breaks there when the horse has been off. So here you see the breaks and the horse coming off a fresh start, a third. Did manage to win one here, which was at Aqueduct on the turf at a mile, just like today. Then over here, it did not. And then here, it didn't respond. So only 1 out of 4 times that horse responded. First time off a layoff. Is there something is there anything in there at all that concerns you?
No, I think this horse is the type that, you know, Brown's figured it out that this horse needs rest between races. Some horses could pop back within 7 or 8 days or even 10 and keep on going. Some need that extra rest. And this might be just one of those horses. Plus, this horse goes back on Lasix. So remember, the last race that horse ran was not on Lasix, by the way.
So Charles is talking about here, goes back on Lasix after not being on Lasix. And it certainly does look, minus this effort here, it performed better. I don't know. The number here is pretty much in line with everything else. I don't know that that's absolutely necessary, but I do think it is a benefit. And once again, you're selecting Jose. So Charles has changed his mind. He's had a change of heart. Terry, any objections? Are you going to veto Victoria Green, or are you going to hang on to that one too?
No, I have her as my second pick. So as he said, you know, she ran against Tuffer last time, and she down a little class. Chad Brown's a great trainer, and I like Jose Ortiz here recently. He's done really well. So,
all right. So if that's your second pick, who then, the question becomes, is your first?
Number 2, expand the map. You know, she won her last race, and she's very versatile, which is the angle I love. She can either go to the front and lead all the way, or come from off the pace to win a race.
I don't agree with you on that, Terry, because so far the horse has won one race, and the only way it won was off the pace. Otherwise, when it had the lead here, it faded both times. I think it's more of a closer, although it can show some speed. So maybe it gets into good position and then tries to close into the win. What do you think?
Me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I disagree with you, because I think that I think it can win on top if it's not pushed real hard. I think it's I think it's real good. So, but I don't think it's going to go to the lead in this race. I think it's going to set in second or third and come from off the pace to win the race.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the horse is going to sit off the pace, because if you look at its 2 closest efforts, the debut and the most recent effort, both times the horse sat 3.5 lengths off the leader and then closed in and almost got it back here in the debut. So I think that's what you'll see. I think you'll see it be patient and then make a strong run at the end. Charles, what do you think? It's going to go to the front, or it's going to be patient, make a strong close at the end?
It's going to be patient and come at the end, because I think they're gonna let the one go to the front. I think, in a sense, maybe sit right on his tail, but not push him that hard either.
Does it concern either of you that this guy here is a money burner? Been the favorite every single time, and only managed to cash a check for its backers one time as the winner?
Well, he cashed checks actually 4 times, because you get money per second. But yeah, he's
only the people who bet it to win.
Yeah, but he's only won one time. But how many horses in here won more than once?
Well, my question. That was how many more than one than once. My question was, are you concerned that it's a money burner?
Okay, well, when it comes to money burners, there's certain trainers that will get money burners, and Brown is one of those trainers. You got Baffert, Brown, Todd Pletcher. They will get more money burners than any other trainer out there because everyone bets the trainer's name.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that, Charles. Just playing devil's advocate a little bit. I can see smoke coming out of Terry's ears up there.
Oh no, no, that's all right.
All right, so that's your guys' pick. So now it's your chance to dog on me. I'm going to go with the 4-horse in here, Candle, as my next shot in here. Horse has run well, did break its maiden on the turf. Well, so far, though, it's only run on, when you see the squares, it's run on the inner turf courses. Been off since February, but this last workout right here was pretty good on April the 3rd. You have 4 furlongs in the 5th fastest of 107 races. The horse has done okay. It did win coming off the bench, but some of those other arguments I made about the fact that the horse does not run particularly well off the bench do hold up here as well. I like that workout here. I think the horse comes sharp in, ready to run this race today. And at Aqueduct, although it was the inner turf course, did run across the surface. So I imagine the footing's about the same. I think Candle should perform well at Aqueduct today. Go ahead, guys. Throw your arrows.
Well, I like it as my 3rd pick. So I'm in agreement with you there. He's 1 for 1 at Aqueduct. He's perfect there.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed improvement in all of the last 3 races, increasing his speed rating in each race.
And
so
according to Barry Meadows, that is an alpha angle. Wins
Yeah.
at 15% or more. Charles, where are your where's the flaming arrows?
No flaming arrows because it's my 4th pick. It's my price horse. I do believe this horse, and it's also 2nd time Lasix, which I think is a great angle. So yes, my 3rd choice was the 1. I thought the speed was going to hang on at least enough for that for sure. And it's that dangerous speed. Now, I think he's going to be out there alone personally. I don't think anyone's going to challenge him. So that makes him very dangerous.
Does it concern you that the trainer in 154 races has won? Let me undo that right there. Hold on a second, folks. Well, does it concern you at all that the trainer has done the come on now, give me the right one here. First on grass, 97 times, 6%. So won 6 out of basically 100. Mm-hmm. Then over here, turf to dirt, 154 times, basically 9%. So what is that about 9? About another 6 horses in there, maybe 10 horses in there. Does that concern you at all?
Well, yeah, if you look at numbers like that, yeah, the numbers would definitely concern me on that. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that does not concern me is the name of the trainer.
Wilmot, yes, I guess going to turf, but still his numbers going from turf to dirt.
No, I mean, I agree with all the numbers. I understand it, and I totally agree with the number part of it. It's just when you have a trainer like Bill Mott, there's sometimes numbers you're just kind of like, whatever. It's still Bill Mott.
Still Hall of Famer. All right, so does it bother you at all that Jose Ortiz, given an option, if he had an option, took your first pick and not this one?
No, because probably why he had to use the last 2 times different jockeys. Ortiz was riding in Florida. Mm-hmm. Second thing is maybe he saw what I've been seeing, that Ortiz has not been riding well, is on a slump, so he might want to change. It could have been one of 2 avenues that he looked at and tried something different.
I do have to say, since that February 25th, these 2 workouts are pretty good workouts. The horse definitely showing that it should be in form, fit, and ready to go. So are we putting the 1 in, or are we saving that spot to have a little bit more flexibility in the next 2 races?
Saving the spot.
Charles, are you going to veto us and lock in the 1?
No, I'll say save the spot.
All right, so now we'll get into the contentious battles for sure. Race number 10.
Wait a minute. I want to go back to race number 9, put one off side number 5, Geysers Road. Won its last race at Gulfstream Park, and her breeding suggests she'll really like the grass as her dams produce 2 turf winners.
You know, Terry, I have the 5 horse in my selections too. I'm sorry about that. I did jump ahead of myself a little bit. I like the 5 horse as well in here, Terry, much like you do. The horse so far is supposed to run on grass every single time, but you can see these X's mean that the race got taken off the turf.
Mm-hmm.
It's a neck away from winning 2 in a row. Again, Jose Ortiz on this one, or is that Irad?
That one's Jose.
So Jose, again, taking a different road. Frankie Pennington coming up from Parks. So indeed, a little bit of a, I don't know. Frankie handles his own at Parks, but maybe it hasn't done as well so far in his mounts up at New York. But maybe that'll change here. I agree with you, Terry. I'm looking at this one race back here as the one is our marker. That one there where the horse ran at 83. This one here, it closed inside, just up. So maybe got a pretty good trip on that one. But nonetheless, the horse has made 3 consecutive starts coming off a little bit of rest. All of them have been solid. So we know the horse can spend some time in the barn, come out of the barn and run well. As far as workouts are concerned, since that February the 12th run, the horse has had, 4, 9, 13, 17 furlongs of workouts. That tells me that the horse should be indeed fit and ready to run. Charles, anything in here that you see that would dissuade you from wanting to put the 5 in there, maybe in our prime rib pick 4?
No, nothing against it. No.
All right. Can we move on now, gentlemen, to the next race?
Absolutely.
All right. So the 10th race is 6 furlongs on the outer turf. This is the maiden special weight race. They've only run, I think, 11 of these races so far at 6 furlongs, or maybe that was in the most recent meet. 6 of the 11 were won going wire to wire. Speed does do a little bit better here than closers. Small rail penalty, so Admire My Crown could struggle in here. Post 2 through 3 have done the best. 4 through 7 have played fair. If you wear an 8 or higher, that is a big penalty in there. So early speed does play a factor in here. Charles, this time you take us through what the sheets are telling us in terms of the simulators in this big field.
All right. Well, when it comes to who's going to have the lead at the quarter pole, it looks like the 11 down there, 45% chance. Yeah, I mean, you got a couple others at 18%, like the 1 and the 4. Yeah, I think the 11 has the most speed to get to that quarter pole overall. The big question, like always, can they hang on? Simulation odds, it looks like the 5, slightly over even money. And you got 3 to 1 on morning line, which is pretty nice. Mm-hmm. And then you got that 11, even money, and you got 4.5 to 1 on the morning line. And then when it comes to the C zone, it looks like the 6 at 68% chance likes it, and the 9 at 60%, and the 4 at 54%. And the rest are, all spread it out. So
a little bit all over the place. Yeah, for sure. And the let's look at too many sheets now. I got to remember which race we're on and stuff. Looking at the race setup in here, since none of these have won, a lot of them, the 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, have not been within 5 lengths of the leader. They get the never close designation at the finish line. So far, the 4, the 6, the 11, the 5, and the 7, those the only ones that have so far been involved sometime towards the end. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the winner, come out of the 4, 6, 5, or 7. If we take a look at the way the race shapes up early, Terry, according to recency bias, as far as the early speed goes, that looks like it does indeed belong to Weekend Rags. What do you think?
I think so. If she can get a a good break and get to that lead, I think she's going to go all the way and not get caught. So
could very well be. I like to look to see like how many horses are within maybe 5 to 10 points of each other. If you look at that number, there's a lot of the horses in this race that are within 10 of that first one. So it could be a little bit contentious up front. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bunch of horses break for the lead. On the way home, it looks like, Terry, Strictly Taboo, that 5 horse, which is a closer over there, does have the most late pace. And if you look for 10-point differentials, there's only really 4 horses that fit in that category, and one of which is that 11 that we saw up on the front.
Yeah, that's right. The 5 is actually my second choice. So, I think this really shows how this race is going to run, although I think this is a pretty wide open race. But
finally, if we combine the early speed and the late speed, it does look to me in here that the 5 and the 11 have a distinct advantage over what anything else has put on the track so far. The 5 has a 8-point advantage over the 8 horse, and this 11 has a 7-point advantage. So those two clearly, in terms of putting together the beginning, the middle, and the end of the race, Those two appear to be the standouts in terms of having the best opportunity to run the most complete race. Charles, are either one of those in your picks?
They're in my picks, but they're not my top 2 picks. Let's put that way.
Who's your top one then?
The 4. I like that 4. I think this horse has got that tactical speed. I think there's like kind of like you hinted at, there might be a little bit more speed than we actually see on paper. The 11 probably will go the lead, but I think he's going to have some company. So I think the 4 sits right there where he should be, like 3rd or 4th. Cuts back in distance today. Paco stays on this horse. There's a lot of good things looking at this horse.
So he's going to go from 1 mile back to 6 furlongs. Did show some early speed last time out. In fact, if you look at these early pace numbers, I like the fact that the horse popped from a 76 to a 106 and then a 96. That is a really big gap up as it went from all weather to turf. The question is, to me, is that a number that it can maintain, or is there some likely regression coming up here, Terry? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't pick that one as part of my top 4. What concerned me is the fact that if it does go to lead, it has shown that it's faded at the end. And although it has a nice closing race, that 5 furlongs at Gulfstream in December, where it closed to just get beaten ahead.
I agree with Charles in this respect that the horse here, if you look across the line, so it was second, and then started to fade after the half-mile marker, 2 races back. In the most recent effort on turf, it held that form all the way into the stretch.
Yeah.
So that to me is a sign that the horse is getting fitter. We do see that since that March the 16th race, the horse has one workout in here, just the general maintenance workout. I feel like, Charles, if you were a trainer, so if your horse runs a good race and then you give it a workout, are you pushing it, or are you just getting it out there to kind of loosen up the muscle, shake off some of the soreness, and just maintain its
yeah,
form?
my orders to the rider would be, don't let him get away from you. Basically, don't let him have his head. Let him just stretch his legs. So stretching your legs for 4 furlongs, yeah, you're looking at about a 50.
Mm-hmm. So when you say don't let him have his head, what do you mean?
When you're holding the horse, basically you're holding the horse back. When you let them have their head's going up and down. When you see them run, when they run up and down all the time, when they have their head, that means they're going for it in their minds. They're running hard.
So that's basically you're just letting it go and you're not giving it any restraint.
Right, correct.
And a good positive that I see here that I didn't really notice that it should have a little harder is it's cutting back in distance. So I think that's going to be a big plus for this horse.
Yeah, actually, I had the 4 in my pick. I think I had it 4th as my selection for some of the same reasons there, Charles, that you like that horse. So I'm not opposed to that. Terry, you going to veto or you want to leave that one in?
No, you guys talk me into it.
Well, that could be dangerous in there. All right, Terry. So talk us into the one you want to put in here.
All right. Well, I like the 11 Weekend Rags, finished 3rd versus Simler on the dirt in the last race. She has a high percentage in trainer, and her breeding suggests she'll like this grass. So
There's another one that should break off to the front there in terms of its early running style, as we see on the sheets down here below. You do have a interesting Manny Franco, who's been dominant at the Aqueduct track in the absence of the Ortiz brothers and others that were down in. But Manny holds his own even when they're up there. He gets off this horse, and who does he get on to? Manny gets on to the 9 for Chad Brown, which to me is probably something that I maybe kind of missed there a little bit. Well, he stays on this one that he's been on a couple of times before. Now, Charles, do you feel like that's a question of Manny saying, you know what, I might think the 11's a better horse, but over the course of time, I want to ride the Chad Brown horses more than the Jorge Abreu horses, so I'm going to go to the 9, even if I don't think it's the better horse?
Well, he has ridden both of them before, so yes, it's part of his who he really wants to ride, but deep down, it's because of Brown. It really is, because Brown has more stakes horses, and that's where your jockeys make their big money. I mean, you have jockeys out there that could win all these claiming races every day, and be one of the top jockeys, a big fish in a small pond, which is great, and it makes a great living. But it's the stakes races that puts the bonus checks in their
in their accounts.
I do like the 11 because he did grade out so very well when we were doing the EPLP stuff relative to everybody else in this field. I do have to say on further review that this concerns me, although these numbers here pale in comparison to these numbers here. On paper, it certainly looks like the 11 is the better of the two horses. And I agree with you, Charles. I think Manny might have made the business decision. I want to ride in the stakes races for Chad. I'll forsake the maiden special weight here.
Yeah, I
Even though
think
it has
that's
a good
probably what's in his head, but who knows really the truth.
Well, we'll never know unless we get to ask Manny. So are you opposed to having the 11 in your picks, Charles?
No, I'm not opposed. No.
Well, I do think we went with the first one. We got to go with the second one here, Strictly Taboo. This one is Christophe Clement. Any objections to Christophe Clement on the turf?
That'd be a big no from anybody.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is a huge no for anybody. Did run and maiden special weight. Only one race so far. That debut number, though, is a pretty good number. That debut number, I feel, would be probably good enough to win here if you like the speed rating sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Since that race, the horse has put together, what's that? January the 8th, boy, it's put together 3 workouts. I would say pretty good workouts. Nothing spectacular. Probably a horse that's just informed that they're keeping sharp. As far as Mr. Christophe Clement, I mean, you can't really argue with any of his numbers, and I'm particularly fond of him when he's on turf. Charles, what do you say?
Oh, yeah. I'm just fond of him, period. But, yeah, turf is his game. Yeah, this horse is definitely one in the mix, I think, but did not make my top 3. But, yes, I'm definitely scared of this horse.
So he didn't make your top 3.
He's my second pick.
Yeah, I think that EPLP, when we look at the race from the beginning to end, just so strong. That closing ability is really off the chart. Well, I think he'll be there at the end. Whether or not he wins or not in an open race is a whole different story. So we got 3 horses in here, Charles. So you mentioned that the 11 and the 5 weren't in your top 2. The 4 was your number 1. So I guess by deduction, who is your second horse?
The 7.
Yep, I knew that.
He knew that.
Yeah, because he's my third pick, so I knew that would be your second.
I knew that. Well, I mean, this horse ran 3rd last time out. Maker gets 17% when he rests them up on 90-plus days, and then this is his 2nd time with blinkers. So the first time, I think Maker he's happy with the results of it. So he's just fine-tuning him and getting him ready for this race, I think.
So, concern for you that just in the limited resume that it has, the only other time it had a break, and it was a pretty extended break, it was its debut. So it had a lifetime of a break. It came out and didn't really fire well. Bettors didn't really back it in either race. 15-1 maybe on the debut is not that bad, depending upon what ran in that race as well. There was a horse that did come back and win another race. Next time out, it did bump up pretty handsomely, but that was the second start off a layoff. You're not at all concerned that maybe with these workouts here, most of which are pretty bland at the best. You're not concerned at all that this horse might come off the bench a little bit dull today, and it's really the next start that Michael Maker's looking at?
I mean, it could, but I don't, like I said, I've never looked at numbers overall. I just like the consistency of works. And that first race, I don't care who the trainer is. It's the horses, when they go out for the first time, it's a new world for them. So you got to let them learn and figure it all out. And some pick it up right away, and some take 2 or 3 races.
I'm a bit concerned about that long break coming back. And then the last time it had a big break, it didn't fire, that the next race was the one that the horse did hit on. It may have learned its lesson. I want it to prove it to me that indeed it has learned its lesson. I'm going to default on the side that the horse is probably going to struggle a little bit the first time off a layoff, because that's what it did the last time out, especially in light of those workouts, which I said at best are blah. Terry, are you guys going to lock that one in, or what are you going to do?
Oh, no, I'm not going to lock it.
Charles?
Yeah.
Charles is locking it in. All right.
I might do that. I think let's put it off to the side. I might lock it in. I might.
You might lock that one in. All right. So let's talk about the one right next to it, where you get a little bit of a longer shot. And here, Galatrona, first time Lasix. I do like to see that on a horse, right? Well, I would prefer it really on a horse that has shown that it would rather be closer to the front or showed some closing ability. One of the things I like about this horse is in its debut, although it ran 8th, 6.5 lengths off, it did get some backing from the bettors. Over here, you can see that that's the case. The winner of that race came back to win again. So the potential for that horse to be a key race exists. The horse did have a little bit of 2-path through the turn, 5-path into the lane, 12 horses on the field, started from post position number 4, maybe got shuffled off of that start. Did have some nice workouts since then, so I'm all right with that. I also feel like putting Trevor McCarthy on this horse might be the right jockey for him. Joel Rosario was on it last time, another very good jockey. The one thing I like about Trevor is he does better, in my view, with horses that come from off the pace because he's tremendous at saving horse for the late run. I do concern myself a little bit with these numbers here from James Bond in terms of its first-time Lasix and second career start numbers. But I do think it's a price that has a chance that fits the jockey nicely.
Well, it wasn't in my thought process at all for this race.
Mine neither.
So neither of you like that 8. Sorry, we'll put it off to the side. All right, Terry. So since the 7 and the 8 wasn't in either of your thought processes, who do you have next?
Number 9. I like the one we've talked about earlier. The 9 is my 4th pick. She has early speed in her last race. She showed early speed, and she has a high percentage winning trainer and jockey. So, and I think we've discussed her quite a bit.
Yeah, we made note that Manny Franco got off of that one.
Yeah,
the 11th to ride the 9, which is
right.
Again kind of an interesting thought there. Charles, do you have any other horse aside from the 9 to look at?
No, that would be it for me. The 9 is definitely another one to look at. Cuts back in distance, and Brown gets 21% when he takes him from dirt to turf. So it's another great angle.
All right, well, I'm going to do it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and lock the 8 horse in there.
Pow!
Oh, wow.
Done. All right. So we have the next race. Do you want to add more to that? Because Terry, are you keeping track of this in the the cost?
Well, not yet, but I will.
All right. So off to race 11, or what do you want to lock another one in here?
I'm holding off on my lock right now.
No, me too. I don't need to lock anything right now.
Final race of the day, the big one, the one they're all going to the track to see, is the Wood Memorial, a $750,000 Grade 2, 1 mile and an eighth on the main track. So early speed has done well at 1 mile and 1/8. You can see over here, they're going to come out and make that turn pretty quickly. Despite all that, there is an outside to inside bias with a big bonus if you wear the number 8 or higher. Our simulation says for race number 11, Charles, that it looks to me like, well, Uncle Jake is the one that they're going to have to catch.
Yeah, I think about 85% chance of having that lead at the quarter pole, and probably so. But some of these horses have not even won a race, so who knows what's in their heads, what they're going to try to do.
Do you find that interesting that you're at in a Kentucky Derby qualifier and there's horses that don't have any wins yet?
Yeah, and it's because they should have rules out there. I'm sorry, there should be some rules out there about that. But both of them that have not won a race, funny enough, they're Todd Pletcher, both of them. So with that,
I think one of them is up here, right? Dream Lake hasn't won a race, and yet it's an overlay.
Yeah, there's an overlay there. Look at that, just under 3-1, and it's over 3.5 to 1 on the morning line. We got the 5, another one that's just slightly over 3-1, but look at that morning line, 6 to 1, and then the 7, just slightly over 2 to 1. 6 to 1 is the morning line on that one. The 9 is 7.5 to 1, and you're looking at 12 to 1 morning line, and that is it.
So as far as race shape, I know these horses have run limited race shapes, but it does look like the 4 and 5. So the 5 horse gets an interesting designation that we've seen before doing these shows. It does have the highest comfort zone. It is an overlay. We've seen those horses over and over and over and over come through. Not to say that it's guaranteed or it's a perfect sort of algorithm, But we've seen it happen time and time and time again. So I would not be at all surprised to see a very strong effort out of that 5 horse at a decent price. Finally, our race shape for the Wood Memorial looks like this. You have the 5, the 7, and the 10, horses that should like to be up front. The 1, the 6, which is scratched, the 11 and 12, those should pressure. And the majority of the horses here do want to come from off the pace. So I would expect to see the winner maybe come out of the 5, the 7, and the 10. They get up front. We've seen speed be the way. According to our early pace numbers in here, it looks like Uncle Jack or Jake is definitely the one that you're going to have to catch.
Yeah, he is, but I don't think he's going to stay up front. I think he's going to get caught. So, and I think there's some pretty nice closers in here.
All right. So you speaking of the closers, it looks like the 5 and the 11 are the ones that will be definitely taking care of that business.
Well, yeah, but look at the 13 too. You know that 13 might give him a little bit of trouble too. So,
and we spoke about the 5 horse being the one that did have that overlay, going to get a good trip. It has some of the strongest late pace in there. As a 5-point advantage over the next closest horse when you combine the early part and late pace. A lot of things in here pointing to that 5 horse being one that you absolutely 1,000% better consider in your picks for that. So in race number 11, I'm going to start with the 5 horse for a lot of those reasons. Anybody object?
No, he's my third pick. You know, he's broke slowly in his last race, and he finished second. Anyway, it was a grade 3 Gotham, and he's another horse in the race that's trained by Brad Cox and ridden by Dylan Davis. Dylan Davis.
What are your thoughts on that 5 horse, Charles?
Yeah, he's my second choice in this race. Yeah, he looks the part.
All right. So Brad Cox been dominating at Aqueduct so far, winning at a 36% clip in the limited number of races that he's put out there. And this horse does have some Aqueduct experience with the 98 speed figure. How does that create? Well, there's a few others that are close. So we agree on the 5 horse. All right, perfect. So Charles, take us away on the one you want us to agree on.
The 7. The 7 has that tactical speed. I think this one could either go to the front, sit off the second or third, somewhere around there. This horse ran second the last 3 times. The blinkers come off, and Rice gets 24% with this move. With them taking the blinkers off, I think they want this horse to relax a little bit more. When they put the blinkers on, maybe he was too intense for that last race, so they're just taking it off.
We did mention that the outside draws are a little bit better than the inside draws. So got a 1.5 miles here on the rail and then faded at the end. So maybe post position was a little bit of a drag here. In the slop, it was 4th. So perhaps moving outside, Terry, do you feel like that's a benefit considering there's been an outside to inside bias?
Yeah, it's my 4th pick. And, you know, he's very competitive. He's either placed 1st or 2nd in all his races. And you can see there that he's only one time been outbroke by anybody. So he breaks really well. And he's trained by Linda Rice, which is a trainer that I like, ridden by Jose Lascano. So
should do well. Been at the distance a couple times. We did mention a couple seconds in there. So we certainly know it can handle the 1 1/8. I do believe that moving outside is going to be helpful to that horse's chances in here, considering the track bias to the outside. So Charles and I have had our say. Terry, it's your turn.
Number 13, Hit Show. He's won 3 of 4 career races, and he won 3 of the starts, including the last one, which is the grade 3 Weathers. He's trained by Brad Cox and ridden by Manny Franco, and I think he's a good choice in here.
Now, you mentioned, Terry, that he won that last race, and boy, did he win that last race. In fact, when that horse wins, if you look at those margins, 5 1/4, 3 1/2, 5 1/4, they're not close whatsoever at all.
And the only race that he did not well in, he bobbled, and so he had some trouble in that race.
Did have a trip at Aqueduct. Did do well. It was at the distance today, so no problems there at all. Fast track, 3 out of 4. Charles, any objections to the 13 horse?
No, not at all. Like the horse a lot.
So that one gets in there. All right. So where are we at money-wise now, Terry?
All righty. Here, let me get over here. And we're at...
No, we're fine.
Yeah, we're at $54.
All right. So if we add one more to this race, where would that put us?
If we add one more here, that puts us at 72.
72. All right. So who do we want to put here next, Charles?
Well, what about the one?
What about the one? You tell
What
us
about
what
that
about the
one?
one.
There's your maiden. I thought we discussed that earlier. This
Uh-huh.
horse
It is an
ran,
overlay too, right? We saw that it was an overlay.
yeah. This horse ran second. The only two times it ran, both times. They add the blinkers today, so they're trying to get a little bit more focus out of this horse, get this horse going. Todd gets 20%, and apparently you're going to say it again that I'm all over Jose again.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say that the horse did run the highest last race speed figure, which is a pretty good angle, right? I think statistics say that it's about 30% winner the next time out, somewhere in there. I do also like the fact that the horse did in its second start improve nicely off its first start, right? You see that here in the speed numbers. You also see evidence of that here in the early pace numbers. You see in the debut, the early pace was in 89, moved up to 90. In the mid pace numbers at 4 furlongs, you see the horse move from 93 to 96. And then at the end of the race, coming home down the stretch, the horse also improved from an 85 to a 97. So no matter which way you cut that race up, it got definitely better from race 1 to race number 2. And you also see that the added distance allowed the horse to actually be closer at the finish line. So extending out a little bit longer, I think, does not hurt the horse. But I do think the rail position could be a little bit of a difficulty because it is the lowest performer of it. So I think it's going to have to, it has no choice, in my opinion, but to go to the front, because if it gets shuffled, it could have a very difficult time finding its way home. Terry, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't have it as any in my top picks at all. So I agree with your assessment of that race.
So are we putting him in or are we putting him off? He is an overlay. Does a lot of really good factors there, in my opinion. Charles, you going to lock him?
No, but I think we should have him in.
All right. Well, Terry, you didn't have him in your picks. Who did you have?
Number 11, Classic Catch, finished in the money in 4 out of 4 career races. He won 2 of those starts, and he has a good 4 furlong workout on April 1st. So,
Charles, you have any thoughts on the 11 horse here, Classic Catch?
Well, I just put down in my notes that this horse can do it. I mean, the horse has some talent. Trevor takes over. So it tells me Jose probably did choose the other one because it's Todd Pletcher to Pletcher.
Mm-hmm.
So Jose chose the one. So Trevor gets this one. Trevor got off the, I think it was the 5.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it the 7? One of the two.
I see. The 5 horse was ridden by, it looks like it would be the 5 horse, McCarthy. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he got off of that one to ride this one. So, of course, he's got to choose Pletcher.
Or Dylan Davis. I mean, he's also done pretty well there as well.
True.
Yeah, it is a good fit. I feel like for absolutely a good fit. The horse did bobble and still managed to come back and win that race. It's been out at the distance a couple times. Mm-hmm. No question about that. The horse has done pretty well. You have some decent workouts since that March 2nd race. You have 3 of them. So the horse that should absolutely be fit. I also see here that the other time that the horse did make 2 consecutive starts of going to the barn, there was some major improvement in that second start. So maybe a horse that does better. I like that horse we talked about earlier that you like, Charles, that struggled in its first race and then came back to do better in its second race. Maybe we can see the same thing here. I am a little concerned about the regression in this race relative to the first, but maybe we can chalk that up to the bobble. I'm not opposed to putting the 11 horse into consideration. Terry, are you?
No, I'm going to make it a lock.
Oh, Terry coming swinging. All right, the lock with the 11. Forget it then. No, you should have just came out and let us know, Terry.
Well, I just made my decision just now.
So snap decision. Beautiful. All right, so if we put one more horse in race 11, what is that going to bring us to?
That gives us, let's see, that we've got 4 in there now. If you put a 5th horse, it gives you $90.
So we can put, it sounds to me like we can put another horse in either race 9, 10, or 11. So real quickly, gentlemen, which race do you feel like we should put it in on the count of 3? Terry.
11th.
Charles.
Yeah. Okay. I say the 10th. So
I say the 10th too.
Okay.
If I were going to put another horse in consideration here, I would make it the 12 horse.
Wow. That's
because
tough.
It is a bomb. And
I think the 10th and 11th are really tough races both. I might have to veto somewhere. Who knows? Let's see.
Well, you have a lock left, so
I know I got a lock left.
you want to lock your 7 in to race 10 and call it a day?
I don't know yet. I don't know. What are we going to do?
Well, I do think we had more agreement on. Well, we had 2 of us agreed on the 7 and 2 of us agreed on the 1. 2 out of 3 of us like race number 10 as the more difficult race of the 2. So I think by a vote that it is race number 10, unless Terry vetoes, because he still has a veto.
No, I don't. I like the 7 as it was my 3rd pick in that 10th race. So,
Charles?
Yeah, I think we should put the 7.
All right. That locks it up. A $90 ticket. There you go, folks. Race number 8, the 1, the 3, the 4. Race number 9, the 2, the 4, the 6. Race number 10, the 4, 5, 7, 8, and 11. That 9 horse better not get us in. Is the 6 to clear way the stretched in the 11th?
He scratched the 6 tuna on toast. The number 6 is scratched in the 11th race, clear on the air.
Yeah, I think that's what he was asking for, right?
Yep.
Let's see what else do we got there. Scratched. Yes, he is indeed scratched. All right, gentlemen. Any final thoughts before we get up and out of here today?
Just that I hope everybody does well if you're playing these different tracks, and I hope they do well. And I look forward to. I'm getting excited about the Derby coming. I'm getting excited about going to Oaklawn next week, and so everybody, I hope you have a good week and that you tell your loved ones how you feel.
Indeed, Terry will be down at Oaklawn along with Tom. I wish I could join them, but unfortunately, I have other personal matters I have to attend to. If you're in the Oaklawn for the Apple Blossom, make sure you look for Terry and Tom and say hello. We also put together our own, again, hot dog pick 4. There's Charles's. Well, let's go back to Terry's first. Terry's hot dog pick 4 in race number 8. He's going to go 3, 4, 5 with the 2, 6 with the 5, 7, 11. So those are your $20 and under tickets. Charles with the 3, 4, the 2, 6, the 4, 7, and 9. Surprised Charles. Maybe he was contemplating the 9 instead of the 7 there in race number 10. And then I'm going to go 2 by 3 by 2 by 3 to close it out in race number 11. I don't know why I have should go 5, 7, 13. Got to put it in the right order. Our prime rig pick 4 is where we get to spend the $100 however we want. Here's how Terry decided to spend his. Here's how Charles decided to spend his. Again, living up to the fact that he liked race 10 and 11. When asked, he went with race number 10, not race number 11. Interesting.
Well, I mean, because it's yeah, I was very close to locking in the 1 in that
race 11. Should have jumped up in there, Charles. And then finally, here's mine. I did have the 1 in race number 11 for me too, so I wouldn't have been opposed either way. And I did not have the 7 in race number 10.
Wow.
So there you go.
Well, what happened there?
If the 1, hey, I had locked my horse in. I was giving you guys. I don't want to be a dictator. You know.
Hey, you know what? It only costs us $12.50 more to put that 1 in there.
But it also goes over.
Yeah, I know, but there's 3 of us. Don't we each have $100 budget?
Yeah, no. We can go all the way down there. Our rules, right? We abide by the rules. So
yeah, I'm afraid of that 1. I really am. But what the heck?
As am I. It was an overlay, so I'm concerned about that 1. But unfortunately, we make our decisions as a group. And hey, last week it worked, right? You guys both hit the. The group pick 4 didn't win, but Terry, he had the pick 6 both on his hot dog and his prime rib ticket. Charles got it on his prime rib ticket. I missed mine. I missed my hot dog and the prime rib by that 7 horse not beating the 4 horse. And again, I would not play that 4 horse in 100 races in a row if it came back again, simply because it was a maiden winner that really underperformed relative to everything else off the field. It's horse racing. Sometimes things beat you, and I have rules that I apply that have worked to my benefit over and over and over and over again. Terry, you and I will be back on Monday and Tuesday, right?
Yes, correct.
Because I know you're traveling. We're going to do parks. And then on Wednesday, Charles, you're going to be with me on Wednesday and Thursday, and then the entire following week, correct?
Correct.
And then the Thursday, the 20th, Terry and I will be back, and we're going to be at Hawthorne live on the 20th. Yep. Maybe Charles can join us. We've invited him. Whether he decides to come and join us or not and grace us with his presence, we'll know later on. We're trying to work out some interesting stuff that could be fun from Hawthorne as well while we're there. So we'll keep you up to speed with that. And the best way to keep to speed with everything we do, Charles, is to do what?
is to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and hit those, of course, that little bell down there to get alerts all the time for our channel.
Indeed. Of course, we appreciate everybody joining us today. We certainly hope that your pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 6s at Santa Anita with the Santa Anita Derby, at Aqueduct with the Wood Memorial, of course, ours as well, and at the Keeneland track today with the Toyota Bluegrass, once again, where we have all of our picks over at Guaranteed Tip Sheet, including a wagering guide. You can get all that at the link in the description down below. No matter what you're playing or how you're playing it today, folks, or you're just kind of chilling out with the family, whatever it is you're doing today, gentlemen, we hope it ends up in one place, and that can only be
The
winner's circle.
Indeed. Look forward to joining everybody on Monday with Terry again. Until then, have a fantastic weekend.